If you are hearing this and nothing in your life has changed yet, understand this clearly. This is not motivation. This is a warning. Because if you do not change today, you are already dead, not physically, but mentally, spiritually, and functionally. You are breathing, but you are not moving forward. You are aging, but you are not evolving. You are alive on paper, but extinct in relevance. The world does not wait. It replaces, and while you hesitate, someone younger, hungrier, and more disciplined is quietly taking the spot you think was meant for you. Every day you repeat the same habits, the same excuses, the same routines. You are confirming to reality that this is all you are capable of, and reality listens. Comfort has slowly murdered your urgency. Distraction has assassinated your ambition, and hope has become the drug you use to avoid action. You keep telling yourself, tomorrow will be different, but tomorrow is built by what you do today, and today you did nothing. This is your last chance, not because the calendar says so, but because patterns harden, identities lock in, and after a certain point, men stop changing and start decaying. The system does not need to kill you. It just needs to keep you busy, entertained, tired, and confused until you expire unnoticed. No one is coming to save you. No speech, no leader, no trend, no miracle. This moment is the final checkpoint where you either take full responsibility or accept a life of quiet regret. If you are broke, out of shape, disrespected, ignored, or stuck, that is not bad luck. That is feedback. Life is telling you that who you are right now is not enough. And the longer you argue with that truth, the longer you stay trapped. Change does not require confidence. It requires obedience to reality, obedience to discipline, obedience to the uncomfortable actions you have been avoiding. The pain you are avoiding today becomes the suffering you cannot escape tomorrow. You fear effort, but you should fear staying the same, because staying the same is the slowest form of death. The man you could have been is watching you waste time, and that is the heaviest guilt you will ever carry. This is not about being perfect. It is about being relentless. Showing up even when motivation disappears, acting even when fear is loud, choosing progress even when comfort begs you to stop. The world only respects men who move, who build, who endure, who adapt, not men who explain. Explanations do not change outcomes. Action does. This is the final warning, because after this, there are no excuses left that you have not already used. If you leave this moment unchanged, you are making a decision even. If you pretend you are not, and understand this, indecision is a decision, and it always chooses weakness. Today is the line between the man you are and the man you will never become if you hesitate again. Step forward now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when it feels right, but now, because this is the last moment where change is still possible. And once it passes, you will not collapse dramatically. You will simply fade, unnoticed, unfinished, and forgotten, long before your body ever stops breathing. This warning exists because there is a point in every man's life where reality stops negotiating and starts collecting. And most men never realize when that moment arrives, because it doesn't come with drama. It comes with silence, with years slipping by unnoticed, with the slow normalization of failure until disappointment feels normal and ambition feels childish. You are not confused. You are avoiding responsibility. You know exactly what needs to change. You just do not want to pay the price. And that refusal compounds into a life that looks busy but goes nowhere. Every excuse you repeat strengthens the identity that will bury you. Every delay trains your nervous system to tolerate mediocrity. And tolerance is how men die without ever collapsing. Understand this clearly. You are not tired. You are undisciplined. You are not unlucky. You are unprepared. You are undisciplined. You are unprepared. You are not stuck. You are unprepared, comfortable. And comfort is the most lethal weapon ever used against human potential. This is why today matters more than any grand future plan. Because futures are built by patterns, and patterns are reinforced by what you do when no one is watching. The man who waits to feel ready never moves. The man who moves becomes ready through action. Discipline is not personality. It is a skill. And like any skill, it grows through repetition, not intention. You keep searching for motivation, but motivation is a symptom, not a cause. It appears after movement, not before it. You must become the kind of man who acts regardless of mood, regardless of fear, regardless of uncertainty, because uncertainty never disappears. It only gets replaced by regret if you refuse to move. The world does not reward potential, it rewards proof, and proof is delivered through output, consistency, and resilience. If you are honest with yourself, you already know that your current effort does not justify the life you want, and that gap is where shame grows. Most men numb that shame with distraction, pleasure, and excuses, but numbing does not remove it. It just delays the reckoning. This is your last chance, because every year you repeat the same behaviors, your mind hardens around them, your identity crystallizes, and change becomes exponentially harder. Youth is not just age, it is adaptability, hunger, and speed. And once those fade, life becomes a defensive game instead of an offensive one. You do not want to wake up one day realizing you spent your strongest years avoiding discomfort instead of building leverage. Leverage is what turns effort into freedom, skills into income, discipline into power, and power into choice. Without leverage, you are always reacting, always dependent, replaceable. The system loves replaceable men because they are quiet, obedient, and cheap. Escaping that fate requires you to become competent in areas that actually matter: your body, your income, your mind, and your network. Fitness is not vanity, it is proof of self-control. Money is not greed, it is stored energy. Knowledge without execution is entertainment. Connections without value are useless. Everything that matters in your life must be earned repeatedly, not declared once. This is where weak men quit because they want guarantees, but guarantees do not exist for builders, only probabilities that improve through effort. You must learn to move without reassurance, to work without applause, to sacrifice without praise. The ego wants recognition, the builder wants results. The ego asks, how long will this take? The builder asks, what must be done today? Stop romanticizing the future and start respecting the present, because the present is where power is built. Your routines are either constructing you or eroding you. There is no neutral habit. Every hour you waste is not just lost time, it is training your brain to accept waste. Time is not money, time is life, and you are spending it like it regenerates. This warning is final because after a certain point, men stop hearing truth and start defending their patterns. If you feel offended, that is resistance leaving your body. If you feel uncomfortable, that is growth knocking. If you feel fear, that is your old identity realizing it is about to be replaced. Do not confuse fear with danger. Fear often appears right before progress. The only real danger is staying the same. You do not need a perfect plan. You need a ruthless start. Action creates clarity faster than thought ever will. Pick one area of your life that is weakest and attack it with daily, measurable effort. Momentum in one domain spills into others. Order creates confidence. Chaos creates anxiety. Clean your environment, structure your day, limit your inputs, increase your outputs, stop arguing with reality, and start aligning with it. Reality rewards those who respect its rules. Effort compounds. Excuses compound faster. The man you become in the next few months will decide the next few decades. Not because time is magical, but because identity locks in through repetition. You are not behind because of the world, you are behind because you delayed too long. But delay does not have to continue. This is the moment where you either become serious or remain a spectator in your own life. Spectators have opinions, builders have outcomes. Stop narrating your struggle and start eliminating it. The final warning is not about fear, it is about urgency, because urgency is what separates men who change from men who cope. Coping is how people survive situations they should have escaped. You were not meant to survive your life. You were meant to dominate it through competence, discipline, and responsibility. Every great transformation begins with a ruthless self-assessment and an uncompromising commitment to act differently. This is not about becoming extreme. It is about becoming effective. Effectiveness is quiet, boring, repetitive, and unstoppable. If you are waiting for a sign, this is it. If you are waiting for permission, none is coming. If you are waiting for the right time, it does not exist. The only time that has ever mattered is now, and now is either used or wasted. Do not underestimate how fast life accelerates once you stop lying to yourself. Truth creates momentum. Responsibility creates momentum. Responsibility creates power. Action creates identity. And identity determines everything that follows. Discontinuation matters because understanding without execution is just another form of procrastination. and procrastination dressed as thinking has already stolen enough of your life. At some point, you must accept that your circumstances are not unique, your struggles are not special, and your pain does not exempt you from responsibility. Millions of men before you faced worse odds with fewer tools and still built something meaningful, not because they were lucky, but because they refused to negotiate with weakness. The lie you keep telling yourself is that you need more time, more information, more confidence, when in reality, you need fewer excuses and more repetition. Repetition is what forges identity, not intensity. Anyone can feel fired up for a week, but the man who wins is the man who shows up on ordinary days when nothing feels dramatic. The future is not decided by your big moments, it is decided by your boring ones. If your daily structure is weak, your life will be weak. No matter how strong your dreams sound, you cannot outdream poor habits. You cannot outdream laziness. And you cannot outtalk a lack of results. The mirror never lies. It only reflects what you repeatedly choose. If your body is soft, your discipline is soft. If your finances are unstable, your decisions are unstable. If your mind is chaotic, your inputs are chaotic. Everything traces back to what you allow consistently. This is why change feels violent to your identity. Because your current identity was built carefully through years of small betrayals to your own standards. Every time you said later, every time you chose comfort over effort, every time you avoided discomfort, you voted for the version of yourself you now dislike. But votes can change if you start casting them differently today. Discipline is not punishment, it is direction. Structure is not restriction, it is freedom. When you decide in advance how you live, you remove the daily debate that exhausts weak men. Strong men do not rely on willpower. They rely on systems. They design their environment so the right actions are easier than the wrong ones. They reduce friction for progress and increase friction for distraction. This is not obsession. It is intelligence. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And if your system is chaos, your results will be chaos. This warning exists because the window for transformation does not stay open forever. The longer you live one way, the harder it becomes to imagine another. Imagination shrinks when courage is unused. This is why most men become cynical instead of successful. Because cynicism is safer than effort. Cynicism protects the ego from the pain of trying. Effort exposes you to failure, but failure teaches you how to win. Avoiding failure guarantees stagnation. Stagnation rots the soul slowly, quietly, without headlines. You do not feel yourself dying in stagnation. You just stop feeling alive. Energy fades, curiosity dulls, ambition feels heavy, and you mistake that numbness for maturity. It is not maturity, it is surrender. Maturity is taking responsibility even when you are tired of hearing your own excuses. Maturity is doing the work without needing validation. Maturity is doing the work without needing validation. Accepting that nobody owes you understanding, sympathy, or opportunity. The world only responds to competence and consistency. If you want leverage, you must become useful at a high level. Usefulness comes from skill. Skill comes from practice. Practice comes from boredom and repetition. There is no shortcut around this cycle, only faster commitment to it. You must also understand that change will cost you relationships, comfort, and familiarity. Not everyone will recognize you when you outgrow the version of yourself they were comfortable with. Some people benefit from you staying small, distracted, and uncertain. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to your future self, the version of you that will either thank you or resent you. Regret is heavier than effort, but regret arrives later when escape is no longer possible. Effort arrives now when change is still available. You get to choose which weight you carry. This is your last chance because the world is accelerating, competition is increasing, and mediocrity is becoming more expensive. Average effort no longer buys an average life. It buys stress, dependency, and invisibility. The gap between those who act and those who wait is widening, and it will not close out of fairness. Fairness does not exist in outcomes, only in opportunity, and opportunity only matters to those who move. You do not need to overhaul your entire life today, but you do need to prove to yourself that you can do hard things on command. That proof rebuilds self-trust, and self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Confidence without proof is delusion. Proof without confidence still wins. Stop trying to feel like a different man and start acting like one. Feelings follow behavior, not the other way around. When you train your body, your mind follows. When you organize your time, your anxiety decreases. When you produce results, your self-respect returns. Nothing mystical, nothing magical, just cause and effect. This warning is not meant to scare you. It is meant to wake you up before it is too late to matter. The cost of ignoring it is not immediate pain, it is delayed emptiness. One day you will look around and realize the life you wanted required decisions you refused to make. That realization is brutal because it comes with clarity, but no rewind button. Do not wait for rock bottom, because rock bottom is optional. Disciplined men do not wait for pain to force change. They use foresight to move early. Foresight is a privilege you still have right now. Use it. Decide today that your standards are non-negotiable, that your word to yourself matters, that your effort will no longer depend on mood. The man who controls his actions controls his destiny. Everything else is noise. This is not the end of the warning. It is the pressure before the choice, and the choice is simple, even if the work is hard. Either you change now while it still counts, or you slowly disappear into the work is hard. Either you change now while it still counts, or you slowly disappear into the background of your own life, fully alive, fully capable, and completely unused. This is where the warning becomes final, because after understanding comes responsibility, and once you understand, you can never again claim ignorance. From this point forward, every day, you stay the same as a choice you are making with open eyes. The world will not punish you loudly for that choice. It will simply move on without you, and that is the most brutal outcome of all. No one will announce that you missed your chance. There will be no dramatic moment, just a quiet realization years from now that you waited too long. This is why today matters more than any speech, any plan, any promise you have ever made. Today is the only moment where action converts potential into reality. Once you act, even imperfectly, momentum begins, and momentum changes identity. The man who moves becomes the man who believes. The man who hesitates becomes the man who explains. Decide which one you are now, because indecision will decide for you if you do not. There is no comfort at the top, but there is dignity, and dignity is worth more than ease. Stand up, simplify your life, cut the distractions, accept the discomfort, and move with intent. This is not about proving anything to the world. It is about refusing to betray yourself again. This is your last chance, not because time is cruel, but because life rewards those who respect it enough to act. Make the decision now, lock it in through action, and never look back. Because from this moment on, you are either building the life you want, or you are confirming that you never truly wanted it at all.